Cheers everyone, here's Pause on a Pint Wednesday, where I'm going to take the opportunity on this beautiful English summer's day down here on the southeast coast of England to reflect a little bit on our journey of running a minimal, viable launch now for 4 years, the wins we've had, the disastrous losses we've had, and maybe the biggest way that my mind has changed as an entrepreneur from those beginning days, that, you know, if you're struggling to build your own business, struggling to scale your business, and you feel like you're in that never-ending phase of just pain after pain after pain, to give you a bit of a sense of how your mind might change as you've scaled a business. We are coming up to that end of the fourth year, and it has been a mammoth journey. We have scaled the team, we have gone international, we have closed clients that I could only dream of, we have launched and written a best-selling book around our methodology, and in all of that has just been the never-ending threat of bankruptcy, business ending, bills not being paid, the fear and the dread that comes with being an entrepreneur so often. I want to say, if you're feeling that dread, it is okay. I think that is the normal state of entrepreneurship for most of the journey, is that you don't really know what you're doing. You are making it up as you go along. You have an incredible amount of skills that you're going to have to learn and implement. You're going to have to test and see what works, what doesn't, and iterate. And even if it works, it doesn't work enough, and you've got to crank the lever and add more leverage. So that is a normal part of the journey. It is what ultimately, after many years in this game, you will start to enjoy, you'll start to love. The journey is the game that you're playing. The journey is the destination. But what have been the biggest transformations for us as a business? Where did we start to go from this kind of feast and famine, you know, every day is a day that I was waking up thinking this might be the last day of the business, to where we're at now, which is quite frankly a whole different host of problems. They're good problems to have, don't get me wrong, but they're just as painful, if not more painful, than the problems of having a struggling business, where we have a thriving business, a business that is struggling to keep up with demand. Like, how did we get from feast and famine to a business that is oversubscribed, finally, as Daniel Priestley calls it? I think the major breakthrough really began when we started to put ourselves into a box. This is something that every entrepreneur, everyone with a business dreads, where people say the advice, niche. If you niche, you'll get a breakthrough, you'll find product market fit, your product will be able to be sold to people, your business will be able to charge more rates, you'll have a simpler business to run. And I think as a junior entrepreneur, someone who's doing this for the first time and really learning the ropes, that advice seems crazy, because you haven't got the pile of resources sitting in the bank to wait 12 to 18 months before this thing works. You need to pay the bills. You've got the mortgage to pay, you've got the kids to feed, you've got rent to make, you've got a car payment to make. Like, that is a real pressing issue that you have as a founder. And this idea of niching and cutting off opportunity feels completely diametrically opposed to what is sane and sensible to do. And so you begin as an entrepreneur in this scrappy phase. You will take on any project, you will work with any client, you're running a promiscuous business. Your standards for business is, do they have a pulse? Do they have a wallet? Great, we could get some work done here. And if you're going to level up from that struggling phase into that thriving phase, you must niche. You must have standards for who you will not work with. You must be able to say no to opportunity. Because it might not feel like it right now where you are in your business, but I promise you, there is more opportunity out there in the world than you could ever hope to take advantage of. And by trying to grab up every piece of money that floats past your business, you miss the huge opportunities, the focused opportunities that would 10x your business. You miss the multiplication effect of being niched and being well known for something, and having a referral engine start to build in your favor, where you start to do a particular type of project for a particular type of client, and people love you for it. You get incredibly good at it, and you get known for it, and people start to refer you for it. and you start to have a foundation level put into the business of knowing that every month you're going to get 2 referrals, you've got recurring revenue, you've got simple operations on the back end, that is really the start of a scalable, growable business. So if you are struggling right now, first place that really started to transform our business was when we started to say no, we started to get specific, and the team were kicking and screaming at me the whole way when I said this. We're not going to do websites anymore. But shouldn't we just do the website? They want to pay us a few thousand. That would keep the lights on for a little bit longer. We're going to have a minimum pricing now. But couldn't we just do a deal to get these clients in and keep everyone a little bit more safe and secure? And it's your job as the founder and entrepreneur to be the one who's brave enough to say no. Your team aren't going to want to do it. They don't like risk. They're risk adverse, mostly. We have to understand as entrepreneurs, we are insane weirdos. We're not risk adverse. We are incredible optimists in most senses of the word. Otherwise, we'd never have started businesses, because, you know, the chances are the business is going to fail. But if you really believe that, at the start of your journey, you wouldn't have taken the first step at all. So first step, if you're wanting to transform from struggling to thriving, is this idea of being very specific with the opportunity that you say yes to. What do you want to be known for? And I think a question that came into my mind was, what do I want to become top 1% in the world at? What do I love? What is hard for other people to compete with me in? Because I just naturally read about it. I'm naturally curious about it. I naturally want to be doing this stuff, and I feel like I'm playing, not working when I'm doing this, because that's a really hard entrepreneur to compete against. And I guarantee you there is something in your business, a series of projects that you get again and again and again that you love, that are easy, and that you do a great job on. And I promise you, if you just take the brave step to just focus down on that, you will do more to grow your business than anything else. Because every product line and every service variation that you have within your business is actually at the start, when you have limited resources, it's like trying to scale multiple businesses at once inside of your business. And you don't even know how to make one really work yet. Why are we trying to kid ourselves and say we can make 4 or 5? So start to niche. What will then happen is when you start to niche and you start to become known and you start to have a cadence of projects in an area, you're going to want to start to write about what you do. You want to document, why do you think what you think about the process? What are your mental models that you use again and again? How do you explain the key concepts to your customers and your clients to make them just get it? And once you start writing and clarifying, you start to build IP within your business. You start to build assets. You have a named process. You have a lovely piece of branding and alliteration around the 9-step process that you use to get a guaranteed result. And as you start to document this process, you have checklists and SOPs, and you can start to delegate this work into others. And that is the next real big piece, is creating a simple, repeatable process that creates remarkable results for your customers by solving what we call here at the Minimal Viable Launch burning hair problems, right? Solve a problem that is pressing and urgent and systemize it. Because I think most entrepreneurs right at the start of their careers are really building very complex jobs. They can't take time off. They have many, many bosses in the forms of their customers. There's no system, there's no delegation. It's all on their shoulders, and that is a disaster. And so you must realize and level up. The leveling up of the entrepreneur mind is realizing what your job as an entrepreneur is. It is to build the system that can run without you. And I was sat on a ski trip with Daniel Priestley and about 60 other high growth entrepreneurs, and we were talking about this. It was the theme for the whole trip, was fire yourself from the business. If you cannot remove yourself from every process, from every part of that business, you don't have a business. You don't have a machine that runs that business. What you have is a very complicated job. And once I started to get that mindset, I remember sitting, having another pause on a pint on a Wednesday in Turkey, in Bodrum by the harbour side, and I was speaking with ChatGPT and talking to it about how I need to grow this business and what could I do, what's my biggest thing that's holding me back. And it came out with, and it says, you are a maker, you are a doer. And if you want to level up to the next level as an entrepreneur, you must become the master architect. You must start to design a system that can replace you so that you can have much bigger impact across the world, so that your business can thrive, that you can pay your people incredibly well, you can create an environment where people know what their job is, they have a role, and they contribute to that. And I started to look at my business. I listed out every single job that was in my business, that I was currently responsible for, or who else was responsible for it. I had an EA, I had some help on the content and some help with some project work, but 80 to 90% of that list had one name on it, one name only: Lee. And no wonder I was so stressed, burnt out, working all the hours of the day. And I, as an entrepreneur, I thought that was a accolade, a badge of honor. I should be doing 16-hour days. And I still think to this day there is a period that you're going to have to go through as an entrepreneur where a 16-hour day is okay and it's something you can sustain. And if you're really hungry for this business growth, outwork some people. When you're less skilled in entrepreneurship, you are probably going to have to work harder than other people. But you cannot sustain that energy, and in fact it's lazy to sustain that energy. You're being a busy fool because you haven't taken the step back to say, how can I 10x this business? What leverage can I build into this business? And it's going to be people, it's going to be automation and intelligence and software, but you must put systems and people in place that allow you freedom into the business so that you can get to maybe where my role has evolved to in my business now, which is I'm basically the special forces team. The biggest problems in the business are what I wake up to and deal with. And that's not always fun. It's a never-ending stream of problems. But they are the big challenges, and I can have the authority and I can have the strategic thinking and the risk appetite to tackle those challenges that my employees would maybe struggle with. But if your day as an entrepreneur really begins by executing the processes that are business as usual processes, doing the accounting, the bookkeeping, setting up the meetings, onboarding the customers, doing the sales calls, running the processes, being the creative, the designer, the architect, whatever it is. If your day looks like that as an entrepreneur, you are stuck. That is a 6-figure entrepreneur all day long. And you will exist in this kind of feast and famine cycle where you will have less work, you'll do content marketing and events, and you'll get more and more work. And because everything relies on you, as you get more and more work, you're going to get more and more stressed, you're going to get more and more busy, you're going to deliver a worse service to your customers, they will churn, you will then have free time, and the cycle repeats. The escape from that is building a system that doesn't stop. It's an anti-fragile entrepreneurial business. It's an anti-fragile system that you have in your business, that when you get busy, it doesn't stop. When you take holiday, it doesn't stop. Whenever your team members get sick or takes holiday, it doesn't stop. It runs like clockwork. And the thing that I'm looking for now in business is how in the 24 hours of every day can we as an organization squeeze more leverage out of that day? How can we have people who have ownership and are in charge of specific objectives within the business that enable them to get results for the business? And I struggled so much with delegation in the journey of becoming an entrepreneur who's building a system. I didn't know how to delegate. I thought, I'm pretty good at all of this stuff. How would I ever train someone to be me? If you think that as an entrepreneur, I think you should look very closely. The level of talent that exists out there in the world, there is 100% people who are better than you, more qualified than you, and more capable and naturally more gifted than you in that specific area of your business. As an entrepreneur, you're a visionary and a generalist. You can connect dots and you have high energy, you're a high output person. And that's hard to compete with. The only person who beats you is a specialist. So you must hire specialists into your business to own outcomes so that you can step back from that and know that that system is taken care of. It might break later. It probably will need looking at again later, but not now. Now you can focus on the next job. Really, the job of an entrepreneur is to fight entropy. The business is always wanting to break and build out and fall into chaos. And your job as an entrepreneur is to protect against that chaos, to turn chaos into order, that order into a high output, high performing machine. So the last 4 years has been a huge journey for me personally. We've had days where we've had 6-figure losses. We've had employees who I thought were going to become key parts of the team leave us for better opportunities because we couldn't pay them enough. We've lost customers because we did a bad job. And we have to own that and move on from it. But those really were the big leveling up events that I've been through so far. And I know that the beautiful thing about the game of entrepreneurship is I have a big objective with Minimal Viable Launch. We're going to become one of the world's greatest AI software development companies in the world. And to do that, I'm going to have to break my mindset many, many more times. Entrepreneurship is a game of asking yourself the question, who do I need to become in order to achieve that level of success? You will have to change yourself. You will have to change your personality, your mindset, your thoughts and your beliefs, and what you think you deserve in this world of entrepreneurship if you're going to have success. And if you are stuck currently, it's because who you currently are is not going to get you to the next level. When you feel you have hit that glass ceiling, that is the moment, the indicator that you need to do some self-reflection and decide, who do I need to become in order to move from here and attain that level, break through that ceiling? It is always who you need to become, who the organization needs to become. That is the answer to that question. So, again, cheers everyone. Here's to 4 years of running and growing a business.